Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the final episode of 2023 to America in Black and White. Today, we will go through our year in review. For all the things that we're about to discuss this evening, we're going to be talking about things that are still affecting the Black community in general, but also as a whole, but also the negative effects that are really um, causing many, many problems for all of us that's in the Black community, as to having some upward mobility and moving forward. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone out there and wish everyone out there a happy Kwanzaa, a happy Christmas, and a happy Hanukkah, whichever you celebrate. I want to say I wish you the best at your holiday. And also, I want to say happy holidays when it comes to the new year, because all of us have to have some plans and moving forward. We're doing these big things. We're making these resolutions, and we want to make sure that we're disciplined and we stick to everything that we say we're going to do. But let me start out this episode and let me just say to you guys, I want to first talk about politics and the justice system. And I'm mentioning these two together because they are definitely mutually exclusive, because they both work together. And in this case, here in America, they are really rearing their ugly heads. When we talk about the politics, I want to say that we have, of course, we have the two-party system. We've got the Republican Party, and we have the Democratic Party. Now, when we have both of these parties are supposed to work together and enhance the country in ways for the betterment of their constituents, which is why they represent them in Washington, D.C. First of all, I will say this. We have one party that's actually being a little bit more over the top than the other. And when I say the one that's more over the top, I'm mentioning and talking about the Republican Party. The Republican Party and its members, that is those folks that are up there in the Congress and in the Senate in Washington, D.C., are making it no secret that they are going to represent not only the rich in this country, but those folk that look just like them. And for those that look like them, we know that means that people that don't have the same skin complexion as I have. And what they have said point blank to your face is they're going to cut social programs, which means they're going to cut Social Security, Medicaid, and they want to cut Medicare. Now, first of all, Social Security primarily represents those that are really on the elder side, and it's a program that they need to survive if they're going to survive in the country. They're saying they're going to cut Medicaid and Medicare. Medicaid, of course, is more on the local side of the state government, but it has affiliation with the federal system. Medicare is another program that's primarily for the older generation, where it helps them in accordance to insurance to make their lives a whole lot better. Now, in the whole mainstream of things, it's known that if these people, the elder people, don't have this assistance, we know what that means for them. Now, we know that this is what the Republican Party is standing for, and anything that's dealing with helping the rich folks, they're going to do it. Now, when we talk about the Democratic Party, now the Democratic Party is supposed to be they're supposed to be in the majority. Now, if they're in the majority, then that means that you look at when Biden basically won for president in 2020, it was the city of Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania that made him president of the United States of America. There was an agenda that was put into place that was stated that this is why we're voting for you and this is what the Black community needs. That was voting rights. We needed to have bills to be put in place for hate crimes. We also needed to have this student loan debt taken care of. Now I'm going to work that in regression, and when I tell you the student loans situation, of course it was put into effect, but yeah, the Republican Party threw a wrench in that. But there's other ways that he can go around and he could have worked this system. That did not happen. When we talk about these hate crime bills, we're talking about the police still running around and making it just target practice and killing not only Black men, well, killing majority of Black men, but shooting Black people in general and just killing them and not even facing any kind of consequences. The only thing that we saw that was close to what could be consequences was the George Floyd situation. And with George Floyd, of course, Chauvin and some of those other guys, they did go to prison. Of course, Chauvin is getting his just due, but now they're actually trying to make it like it's a horrible thing that this man is in jail for murdering somebody, but then they want to feel sorry for him because he couldn't face the music of the folks that's in there with him that are locked up, the rest of the caged animals. He's an animal, but now they're trying to make some kind of plight and actually are trying to get some relief and get him out of prison. This is crazy. And so with that being said, you have this for the Republican Party and these other things are for the Democratic Party. As you see, either of those parties that are up in DC do not represent the interests of Black people. That even means the people that we vote that are in our communities that we've sent to DC are not representing us. So what we need to be doing is we need to be forming these coalitions to either vote these people out or make the hard choice, which I don't think is too hard at all, and decide that we're going to create our own party and we need to be moving forward. Because if we don't take these matters in our own hand, then what happens is we're going to continuously perish one by one, by one, by one, by one. I got a question here that's just asking me, do I think a new party will work? I honestly think it will, because the voting power of the Black community means one thing. You can't win the White House whether you are Republican or Democrat, because there's not enough votes there. Now, if Black folks were to create their own party, I can guarantee you that we could create more of a coalition, a better coalition that will lift our people up. But that's the thing that's being discouraged by so many people. They're hating the fact that more of us are being enlightened and we're not supporting the repressive and oppressive agenda that's in effect. Because going into 2024, I will tell you all this. You better rest assured that all states that are in place right now, all states, are actually going to be working on these bills that they're sending through their states' House and Senate that are basically going to be repressing more and more of the Black and brown rights than you can ever imagine. Basically, it's getting to the point that we won't have any rights at all. So we need to start working together is our main thing. One of the other big things here between politics and justice here in 2023 is that former occupant of the White House, Donald John Trump, has been indicted on 4 cases. 4. He should be in prison, of course, but they make up these special rules at some point or another to say why he can't be in prison. But let's start with this first case in New York. He's been indicted for fraud. And so if he's been indicted for fraud, what that means is what the Attorney General Letitia James is trying to do, which is totally shut down that company and kick him out of New York, there should not be all of this pushback and all this flack about we have to let justice take its do its thing, because it's obvious that when you're black or you're brown and you're in the justice system, then you're quickly rushed to judgment. So if you can be rushed to judgment, why can't this be rushed to judgment? Stop with the special antics of, oh, we have to let the system play out. We have to let him get his day in court. He's been in court 1,000,001 times, and he's playing this thing where he is like delaying. Delaying is not going to get justice. As is delayed, justice will be denied. So his next case in Florida, where we have this situation with these documents and government secrets, everything about what's happening with the playbook of the American government against their so-called potential allies. Not allies, I mean, but their enemies. The folks that are against them. That is people such as Russia, which is one of his best friends. People like South Korea, Kim Jong-un, one of his best friends. People like Turkey. I can't get that man's name, but the Turkish president. They're all doing what's necessary to do a brushback on America and the innocent folk here that are not that does not partake in these situations. Well, so just to make this worse for you, is that the documents that that particularly that were found about Russia with Russia. I mean, they say some of these documents even included nuclear codes. Now, I've actually looked at these documents, and you can get your copy as well because your tax dollars are paying for them. So they are your documents. It's easy to just go online and you just go and you just put in the search. It comes up. Download the documents for yourself, because I will tell you, if you read these documents, and especially if you're somebody like myself that's been in the military, that's defended this country, that tells you right there that those folks that are over there defending America, those folks are at risk. And what's going to happen is, as time go on, as you know now, recruitment is down because nobody's going into the military. Nobody's going to go into an ambush. And so why they are so afraid of this one man, I think we all should be thinking about that, because I can give less than a damn about Donald Trump, and I'm sure everybody else on this show feels the same way. But I will tell you this. You know that if we don't have our stuff together, then we don't have a leg to stand on. So if we actually come together and we do what we have to do, we can push forward. We can create our own party, and we can make that move to change America and make it what it's supposed to be. His next case is in D.C., which is insurrection. This is the only case that's in the federal government that they know is going to actually lock this man up. Well, we got this situation where now he's talking about he wants to appeal, but even with this appeal with the district court in D.C., the special prosecutor wanted to take this to the Supreme Court, and he asked them to hear the case so they can make the ruling about immunity. They refuse to take up the case now. They say they'll take it up later. So what that means is after the appeals court say, okay, on January 9th, when they see the case and they take up the case, they rule against Trump, it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're possibly going to try to drag this out as long as they possibly can, because the actual trial is set in D.C. for March 25th of 2024. So again, we got justice delayed, which could be justice denied. The same thing with the case here in Georgia, which is dealing with the insurrection, and him calling down here, trying to intimidate these folk down here in Georgia, where they lied on Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay. But then on top of that, they go and they actually try to get the Secretary of State to overturn the election, which he would not, even though he in himself with the rest of these I call them insurrectionists as well here in Georgia, decided that instead of doing what they were supposed to do, they decided that they would go and they would create this bill, this voting rights bill that makes voting difficult. That even includes the governor. But we got folks that still believe that because they have privilege, that they don't have to worry about this. If they cut any programs for anybody in general, it includes them as well. But being stupid and not actually understand what your interests are, that right there in itself is sure blowback. So think about what works best for you and do what's necessary to make your life better. You know, it's just like that case in Florida with that judge that's actually helping him, and she's lying and she's delaying the case, and she's coming up with all this craziness where she's basically allowing him to dictate how he wants the case to go. Now, I guess this is because he put her on the district court. He moved to Florida, so she owes him. So, and the common factor in all this is we're talking about privilege, and we're talking about people that are loyal that he says owes him. So these are the people that are continuously in places in the government, whether it's local, county, federal, and state government, or federal. They are still making it easy for this man to get off and hopefully destroy the democracy. Because if he destroys this democracy, then you know the first people that are going under this gun are going to be black and brown people and other minorities as well. So it does you no good to actually say you're going to vote for Donald Trump. If you're going to vote for Donald Trump, then you're crazy. That's just flat out foolish. I mean, I'm not a Republican and I'm definitely not a Democrat, but I will tell you this. If you got to hold your breath and vote for Joe Biden, I think you better do that. Especially if you want to have a chance to continue not only to live in this country, but have at least a slightest of a better opportunity to create the things that you feel are going to be best for your life. Now, we're going to talk about the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is in favor of the conservatives 6-3. Now, those that are there, they are helping this man, Donald Trump, to destroy the democracy. The thing that they're doing is they're taking away rights. And the rights that they're taking away, you can't believe, it's hard to imagine, shall I say, here in the 21st century, that a woman does not have control of her body. Now, one judge in the state of Texas, so make sure you listen to this. One man on the federal court in the state of Texas has made this decision that basically took away all the rights of all the women around this country. The Supreme Court has helped in that situation. So when they overturned Roe v. Wade, they didn't just stop there. They were actually and still trying to move forward with taking away gay marriage, because they're saying you're not supposed to be married in accordance to the Bible, which I still say that's the biggest lie told since Conoco gas. And people still believe that this is the right thing to do. So I want y'all that believe in this Bible, this biblical system with these Christians. These Christians are also supporters of Donald Trump. These are also the same people that make the Bible work when they want it to work. That's here in 2023. So when it works the way they want it to work and it affects you, you can't even have a right in that situation. Now, how the hell can that happen when we got all these people on the face of the earth, but we got those people that we put in these situations that, one, go to DC and do what they have to do, but they also vote for these folks that are in higher courts and everything else that make decisions that come down on us. That can't be right. That cannot be right. And if anybody believes that it's okay to take away anybody's right and to keep you oppressed and subservient to some white man that sits up here in the Senate or on the Supreme Court? What is wrong with that? I mean, how is it that these old white men that are up there in Congress and in the Senate are all in a woman's crotch, in her vagina, because they don't have one, so we thought, or do they? Somebody needs to ask that question. Because if I was so concerned about a woman's vagina and I don't have one, then I would be considered the worst person in the world. But there's nobody actually making that statement or asking those people that they know that are in situations to make these decisions to make it right. So that's got to tell you that if they're not doing what's necessary to stop it, they must be a part of it. So are people afraid to say that? Oh boy. I mean, this is just too much for me. The Supreme Court also had their part in the Shelby County case. And so this was at the top of the year when, of course, anybody that knows Shelby County, Alabama, know that Shelby County is one of those suburbs that's on the backside of Birmingham. It's on the backside of Birmingham that's supposedly, quote unquote, a very affluent area. And so in the Shelby County case, the Supreme Court overturned a part of the Voting Rights Act, Section 3. They overturned it. When they overturned it, it allowed Shelby County to not only flip that county and take away the rights of the black folk that were down there to vote, but made it harder. So now they come back later in this year and say Alabama needs to redraw its map because black people need to have more representation. If we didn't have more representation at that time, what makes you think they're going to do it? Because they ordered them to, they still have not done it. And 2024 is next week. So tell me this. For my people that live in Alabama, I know that there are people that are trying to do their due diligence as hard as possible. But there's not a strong enough coalition throughout the state up and down to make this change. The change is happening in pockets, but it needs to be the whole state. And I just really don't know how is it that we can say the justice system is doing what it's supposed to do, because it's not. Now, the other part of justice that's not working is the actual Justice Department. Can somebody tell me that's out there? How is it that it took the Justice Department under Joe Biden, it took them almost 2 years before they decided that they were going to put a special counsel in place to work on the Donald Trump case? Okay, see, this is just too long, and in itself, it just kind of makes me just infuriated. What I'm saying to you is that, again, the justice system under Joe Biden right now, it took them 2 years. 2 years to say they were going to put somebody on the Donald Trump case, all because the actual head of the Justice Department, Mr. Merrick Garland, sit there, cried and lied on everything that he was supposed to be about when he took that job. Before he took that job, so I want some of y'all to know, if you didn't watch him get sworn in, he made it in his vetting process through the Senate. He made the promise to the Republican Party that their investigation that turned up a nothing burger could continue for 2 years. Now, why would he make that kind of judgment when it's already known that it's a fallacy and they were trying to create bullshit and lies to convict somebody, but they could not do it? John Durham was on this case before Biden and after Biden. It was an investigation that took place in North Carolina, and it turned up nothing. Absolutely nothing. The report is out there, and I recommend people going out, getting these reports, and getting each and every last one of these court documents that you see on Donald Trump, because what you're going to see is the system itself that's failing us, and why it works for them is two sides. You know, she's supposed to be blind, but she has vision. She has vision. She can see. Justice is definitely not blind. So again, I recommend that we all come together. We create what we need to do as our own inroads through our own communities. We build our communities, and we get all of these folks, including the ones that look like us, that we done sent not only to the U.S. Congress and Senate, but to your state's Congress and Senate, and you get them out of there because they are not representing anybody that's black and brown. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. They're all getting paid. We talk about the police department. Well, the police department, what the main media has not done is there have been cases as of lately, not an enormous amount of them like it used to be, but there are an enormous amount of cases that where it's enough where the media should be shining a light on these folks that are being killed right now. These black men that are being killed. You walking down the street, I'm shooting you because you're black. I'm shooting you because you're black. I've got probable cause. You fit the description of. We all fit the description of, but there's this minor little small law that says that, you know, if you don't give them some opportunity to at least question you or some kind of search and seizure, then you must be guilty. They don't do that to white folks. They only do it to black and brown folk. But all of this, turning the other cheek and being too kind about this, no, sir, that does not work. Because you know, as a black man, if you are stopped by the police, there is a chance that your life will be taken. Now, that's the question that I think we should ask ourselves, and we should be ready for, because going into 2024, we got to have this plan together, and I have some recommendations for that. But you have to think about this. You're just as free as anybody else in this country. Don't care what state you're in. You should not be feeling like, you can't walk down the street because, in this fear that the police is going to stop you and they're going to kill you. This is when they were supposed to put this hate crime bill into effect. The reason why it did not go into effect is because they feel like they cannot go against the police department and its unions. Well, they slowly but surely in some states have made that, not the thing, but the majority of these 50 states, I would say at least 45 of them still say that what the police say is the law. What the police say is not the law. What they're saying is they're still slave catchers from the 1920s and the 1930s, and they should be allowed to continue to do that. Now, I'm not a slave. Neither of you guys out there are slaves, but that's what they want right now. So we're in the 21st century, and you're talking about reverting back into time, and nobody's making an uproar. We need to be writing these letters to all of these state representatives and senators, just like we need to do to the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate, because these people need to know that what's going on right now is just too much, and it's not going to be tolerated. It's good that these younger kids are now doing the things with the cameras. Everybody's doing it with the cameras, but that's really doing no good when you're watching somebody dying right before your eyes. You have to stop that. That has to be stopped. Who wants to have that ingrained in their psyche for the rest of their lives that causes them some kind of mental stress, whether it's PTSD or you just start losing your mind because it's not leaving your mind? There's no way you want to see somebody dying like that, because they're either shooting them or they're, as they did George Floyd, they're kneeling on the neck, and now all of them are kneeling in your back. and trying to put that pressure on your spine and your neck where if they can kill you, they will. But there's a way where they're saying that it's not problems. Okay, it's not problems for the white kids. It's not a problem for the white kids, but it's a problem for the black kids. And so, it's like it's at the point now that you really have to realize as a parent. We know you have the talk with your sons. Now you're having to talk with the daughters. And now you want to ask the question, when you see your child out there socializing with white kids, and you know that the white kid is either doing drugs or vandalizing cars, houses, or whatever have you, because your child is with them, your child is the one that's going to get the blame. The white kid gets off, but your child never did anything. Just something to think about it. Think about it like the scales of justice. Is this equal or is this equal? The state legal systems are just as bad, because now you've got, like, I'm here in Georgia. Here in Georgia, they've not only come up with this crazy voting rights bill, where now it's so bad and it's so minute that you can't even give somebody water that's standing in line at the polls. But they're also going back to where they are trying to create these crimes, for these folks that are supposed to, quote unquote, are affiliated with organizations. I'll just put it to you like that. Organizations. And if this is an organization that's not recognized in accordance to your state, even though it may be registered, it's not a proper organization. It's a criminal organization. They are allowing themselves to go in and bust that up. So what that means is not many black folk, supposedly, quote unquote, can commingle, and they know about it. Because if that's the case, and this is what your organization does, then it gets that spotlight on it. It's like the same thing when they created the NAACP back in a time when it first came in. I want you all to know that under the Kennedy administration and J. Edgar Hoover, they were actually spying, phone tapping, and everything else on NAACP. This is how they kept up with the move of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and I've got the other guy that was doing that time, but this is how they kept up with them. And so if that's the case, then there are other ways to maneuver. But just saying, does that mean that you feel like you have to be scared of your own people and you can't organize with your own people? No, it does not. No, it does not. I'm going to talk about this financial system, the economy itself. The economy is a good economy, but it just doesn't work for everybody. The numbers in accordance to economics, we have the best economy that we've ever had. Inflation is now low again. Prices have risen, and they're never going down, because when the feds ask at the top of the year, please stop spending your money because there's too much money in the economy, people did not listen. When those prices was going up, and like, oh, they'll come back down. They went up. Oh, no, they'll come back down. They went up. No, they'll come back down. And they're still going up. And people are still buying these very same high-priced items that the value on those products are not worth the penny that you're spending. Who goes to a restaurant when you used to get, you could get a really decent meal, a really good meal, shall I say? You could pay at least the $100, $150 rate. Now you're spending $250 to $300 for meals in restaurants. Those that are considered top tier restaurants, but you got the ones that's right behind them where it's just as bad. So you're not really saving money. You're still out spending money when you shouldn't be spending it. This is the time where people need to stop, save their money, and let everything else that's dealing out there with those companies that don't care about you, let them suffer for a change. Let them suffer for a change, because what that means is you've got all the resources that you need at your house when you purchase them. Get your own food, make your own restaurant, make your own restaurant, have your own parties at your house. Fix the meals that you eat at the restaurant. You do not have to go to those places. It's the same as the movies. Now I know everybody out here has got to like think about how in the hell did it go up to where you're spending now $25 for a ticket just to see a movie? For one ticket, $25. Really? That's overkill, but you still go out and spend your money. How about going to the mall? Those that are going to these malls, why are you going to the mall when the mall especially is not in your neighborhood and they're charging you 20% higher in the prices on all the merchandise that's in that retail mall? Even if you go to the food court and you want to go to Cinnabon. Cinnabon is now charging you $10 for a cinnamon bun. Really? You can make your own cinnamon buns at home. And if you're going to shop, why not shop at that black retailer that's in your neighborhood? At least the kids in that neighborhood would work at that establishment, but there's not many black ownerships in the communities. I mean, you got Jews, you got Asians, you got folks from the Middle East, which is still Africa, but they don't identify as Africans. And they're owning all these retail shops in the black community. They're all up in there. You go to the gas station and they charging you almost $4 for gas. When you go to other gas stations, the gas price is like $2.99, $2.89. But because it's in a black neighborhood, they can charge higher prices because they know you're going to pay for it. You didn't do anything to stop them from coming to your neighborhood, so they figure that you ain't got nothing else but me. But you have to show them better than you can tell them. Because if you don't go to those places, they don't prosper. Get them the hell out your neighborhood, because the next one comes in, hopefully it's a black owner. But I'm sure most of us don't think in those terms, but I'm just going to tell you, when you shop black, you win. Because those dollars 9 times out of 10 are coming back into that community, and it stays in that community. That's what it's for, and that's what it's about. But saying that you want to go 45 minutes to an hour outside of where you live to go shop, when you know for a fact, if you're going this far, how is that money going to make it all the way back to where you live? The answer is it's not. You guys are contributing to making the economy what it is, but it's not working for you, because as you're spending all this money on this retail, none of it's coming back. Why you got to have Gucci? Why you got to have name brands like that that's charging you money that you know you don't have? Why? That's nonsensical. Let's be logical going into 2024. You don't need to be doing that. Nobody should be doing that. And talking about the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has raised rates more than 4 times this year. They were about to raise them again, but what has transpired is, because the economy is going so well and inflation has dropped, they did not, 3 weeks ago, they did not raise interest rates again when people thought they would. And then in the very first week of December, and they were talking about how good the economy was when the jobs report came out. The jobs report was a gorgeous report, but for those that look like me and you, that's under middle class and below, didn't look so good. And the reason why it didn't look so good is because there's no benefit. We got no benefit from that. If we get no benefit from that, then you have to think about, what can I do to make this work for me? And that means start economizing. We'll talk about that later. Student loans. Student loans is a thing right now that's more than just trending, but it's real. When the Republican Party had this one judge again in Texas say that Biden's student loan program was unconstitutional. It was unconstitutional. The reason why it was unconstitutional is because there are an enormous amount of black kids or black people that's got student loan debt that needs the relief. You can't even get the relief because the Republican Party said no. No. Well, we don't need to be footing the bill for what they went to college for, but they damn sure want us to foot the bill when we give them corporate welfare, when they're getting all these corporate breaks, you know, when they're just hiring folks just to hire them, and the government give them that kickback of 15 to 20% based on what the payroll is. Yeah, that's how that works. So when you got these companies that are in 10 states, 15 states, and they've got well over 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 employees, when they file that tax return, I'm guaranteeing you one thing. They're getting that kickback from the government that's just as much as what they earned for the year. So you see, when you say you want to make the system work for you, you see, I'm not saying, and I'm not telling people to quit their jobs. No, I'm not. I'm just saying be smart about the work that you do, the place you work, and how you live your life economically. Because if you don't be careful about that, you're going to wind up being on the really lower half of poverty that really gets nowhere and gets no relief and gets no help, especially if it's dealing with the Republican Party. The Republican Party can give less than a damn if the whole entire black culture was disseminated and off the face of the earth. They will feel like they're happy because then they say they have taken their country back, they've taken their world back. But it's not theirs. This world belongs to people that look just like me and you, because we're the originators on the face of this earth. We're the original kings and queens, and we're the ones to make the decision when and when not to. We just have to put that into action and make it work. That's what we need to be doing. Everyday Americans, the everyday American, the people that have to rely on 3 and 4 minimum wage jobs because they have no qualifications, no skills, no education, no nothing. You know, this system right now is really hurting those people because having to work that many jobs just to survive means that, one, there's no rest, there's no time with your family, and there are also an enormous amount of things that are missed and overlooked. So then you have to go back and think about it. Where is my life going? What have I done with my life? Think about it. Think about it. We all, to some extent, we're all going to need some help in some shape, form, or fashion. The thing is, are we the keepers that we're supposed to be? And when I talk about food and housing, you know, the price of food has gone way, way, way up. Now it's to the point that, you know, you can barely, you know, afford to do one meal, much longer two. But in the process of that, how is it that you get around that? We're going to talk about that too. Housing. You know, housing is one that, you know, anytime you have to spend $1,800, $19,000, $2,000 up to $2,300 for rent, when that's basically a mortgage payment, especially for those people with great credit, that's a problem. You see, what the Federal Reserve has done is because they raised interest rates, is because the housing market is, again, one of those things that had gotten off kilter, it had fallen, and it shifted. It has not shifted back to the time when President Obama was in office in 2008, but it's getting there vastly. And so there's a prediction and there's a projection that in 2024, the summer of 2024, that the housing bubble is supposed to implode. I hope that does not happen. But I will say this. It's something that we all need to keep up with is when the Federal Reserve increase interest rates or when they deplete interest rates. Because right now, I'll tell you, when you get a car loan where if you got good credit, you can get a car loan at 7%. A good credit loan at 7%. But if you've got that at risk rate, then you're paying 25, 30, 35% interest on a car loan. Now, going over to the housing market, now a good housing loan is 7% with good credit. If your credit is challenged, now you're looking at 10, 15%. That's crazy. You can do better than that and basically go and just create you buy you a fixer-upper. I mean, it's just one of those things. I'm sure it's just challenging because this is not supposed to be happening now. And so we are quickly, if not there already, at the haves and the have-nots. Now, when you get to the have and the have-nots, you got problems. When I talk about these social programs, your social programs, when you talk about Social Security, you talk about Medicaid, you talk about Medicare. Okay? These programs are strictly for assistance. And so in this case, with that program being there, it's there to help you. Yeah, they try to push you, and they push you to where they don't want you to use the social program. Forget the stigma. Stigmas have been within the Black community ever since they started this slavery. It's always been there. The thing is, we've got to go against that trend. If you need the assistance, you need the assistance, and you use it until you don't need it anymore. But the purpose of that whole thing is to help you to get going. Forget all the negative stereotype. If you need to use a social program, I'm telling you, you should use it. That's why it's there. But you paid into it, so why shouldn't you use it? Why are you going to pay into a program, and if you get to a point that you get into a hardship, you don't use it? Now, as I said earlier, of course, if you're a Republican, the Republicans are against that. But who cares about Republicans? Because, I think anytime people set out to naturally do harm to others like they have, it's time for all of that to come to an end. It's time for all of that to come to an end. And I think the majority of them realize that because now they realize if we're going to be in an autocratic system, then they're a part of that too. So if they're not liked, then their asses are going to be treated just like us. And they refuse to be treated like us because they feel like they're better than us. Oh boy, living in America. So these are what I'm saying. This is some of the things that I think about going into 2024. People need to start economizing. When I say economize, you need to be thinking about doing your shopping at Sam's or Costco's. Buy in bulk and store. Because when you buy in bulk, it'll last you a whole lot longer. It helps you to where if there's other things that you may have to pay for within that month, you don't have to worry about spending too much money. If you want to have what you call your own entertainment time, you can buy all that stuff from there. You can always sit at home and have yourself a good time. That's what I do. I sit at home and I enjoy. I love my weekends. I love my evenings where I don't have to worry about, I got to go out and I got to buy this, I got to buy that. No, I do that when I want to. And if I decide I want to do that, then that means that that's once a month if I did that. But it's okay with me because, hey, that means that I'm saving for that time. Buy in bulk. Make sure you have all the foods that you need, the right nutrients for your kids if you have kids, or even for yourself. You know, if you're doing stuff where you're trying to lose weight, you know, they have all those products at both Costco's and Sam's. You can still get those products. You can still get your fitness gear, and you can still carry out your process as to how you're doing it and making your life easier. You do not have to stress and think about, oh, I'm doing too much here or I'm doing too much there. That's totally up to you if that's what you're doing. Another thing, when you go out and you open up yourself a bank account, don't just do a free checking account, do a free savings account. Therefore, you're not charged any interest, you're not charged any service fees. Get the free account. And you can put money in both checking and savings and take money as you do every month. Put it into that savings account and let that thing grow. You've got to maintain control over the finances and the money that you have. Because if you don't, it can quickly get out of hand. Don't spend frivolously. Don't go to, like, let's say here in Atlanta, folks going to Buckhead, to Lenox Mall, and to Phipps Plaza. Why are you going over there when you can't afford it? And you're going all that way to go to that mall, and you live all the way over here on this side of town. Ain't none of that money coming back. You come back with what you say, your Gucci, your everything else, but your ass broke. That does not make sense. That's spending money frivolously and unwise. The wise thing to do, especially right now, especially those of you with kids, you need to make sure that you're on top of every part of economics that there possibly can be, and you can control and rein in your finances, because the rainy day fund is not like the rainy day fund of 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you had more of an opportunity to save that money. Now you do not. Now it's a struggle to save, but every little that you save is worth it. It's worth it. You do not have to spend your money unwise. And if you need assistance with that, look, just send me a message. We can talk about it. I can show you what wise, unwise, how to do it, and what's going to be best for you. Where you can make the decision what's best for you, but I'll help you to make that decision. You know, you have to have insurance. You've got to have medical insurance. You've got to have dental insurance, and this is all according to the Affordable Health Care Act. So what you have to understand is, if you don't have insurance, you're going to be fined. If you go through the marketplace and you get yourself a nice health plan, you're good to go, because what happens is, when you have your 1095B that you have to submit with your tax return, it shows that you paid for insurance the entire year. That money is added, and if there's more that's over, then you get that credit back. But if you don't have insurance and you file a tax return, you will be fined. So under Donald Trump's administration, they wanted to tell folks that the health exchange was closed, which was the biggest lie in the world. Of course, they used to telling lies anyway, but the market is still open. So go there. If you don't have insurance, go there and get yourself a reasonable health plan and call it a day. Get the health insurance because you need it. And when it comes to developing your community, go to your neighbor, go next door, knock on the door, say hello, and just say, I just came to say hello. Want you to know who I am and what we need to do I want to get with you so we can build our community. Give me some suggestions. Let's go to the next person, and the next person. Build your community. I'm telling you, community organizing is the best thing in the world. It's going to be the best thing for our Black communities, but also there's strength in numbers. When you have numbers, you've got everything. They don't want you to have the numbers. But if you got strength in them numbers, you got it. And last but not least, make sure that if there's anything happening with you from a legal perspective, you want to make sure that you look for the best resources possible to help you based on your income, because they are out there. Most people say that they didn't know or don't understand how legal aid works. That's the purpose of legal aid. Legal aid is an actual federally funded program that assists the low income. They're another version of the ACLU. So this helps you out. You know, make sure that you got everything coming into 2024. You set these down, set all of these things in order, and you go and you make sure that these are things that you want to do going into 2024 and how you want to make your life better. Because I guarantee you, once you start, just like fitness and health, once you start, you're never going to stop because it's getting good. And when it starts getting good, you only want it to get better. As it gets better, you still want it to get better, but that's when you become insatiable. That means that you're always going to be wanting more. So as you want more, the more you're going to get and the more you can save for yourself. And the last and final thing here is please make your vote count. Do not be discouraged and listen to this craziness that they're talking about on this TV. Please get out and vote. Please get out and vote. Go to the Secretary of State if you don't know if you're registered or not, and find out and have them look your name up. Because when they look your name up, they can tell you what precinct you vote at and everything. If your address is changed, make sure you change the address. It's the same with your driver's license. If you've got a new address, go to the DMV and update the driver's license. Do not drive around with your old address and you live at a new address. Because you know if you're stopped by the police and you're Black, you know the first thing they're going to do is they're going to say, well, I need to run your license. And they run your license and they can come up with any other thing. Something that's probably already taken care of but hadn't quite cleared the system yet. They'll arrest you on it. So in closing, I say I want all of us to come into 2024 charging like raging bulls, knowing that we have a plan that's going to make our lives better, and we're going to do everything humanly possible to make it the way we want it to be. Because if there's no you, there's no us. And with us in numbers, we mean everything. You mean everything to me, and I wish the best for each and every last one of you, especially for the holidays. And we have the best shows coming up for you in 2024. So I cannot wait to get these shows out to you, have you guys engulfed in all the wonderful speakers we're going to have. And I want you all to let it be known. I need your feedback. I want to know, what is it that you want to discuss? Tell me, what do you want to see? What do you want to hear? If you want to be on the show to talk about it, please reach out and let me know. I will talk to you all then, and I want you all to have a great evening